Last week, Ford Motor Company dropped a bombshell indicating that they were going to basically throw in the towel and buddy up with Tesla in order to gain access to the North American Charging Standard Supercharger network, and their existing vehicles will have an adapter in order to have access to that network. And then starting in 2025, Ford Motor Company EVs will no longer have CCS charging ports. They'll just have North American Charging Standard port. And if you don't know, the North American Charging Standard is that Tesla port, which is a little bit smaller. Some say easier to use. I agree that the CCS is a little clunky and heavier. And obviously the supercharger network is the gold standard in EV charging. Very reliable, robust, prolific, ubiquitous, all those good things. However, the Biden administration passed the infrastructure law called the Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA. In that was monies for DC fast chargers that are known as NEVI compliant. In the NEVI compliant standard, it says CCS. It doesn't say North American Charging Standard. So if you want money from the federal government to put in a DC fast charger, you need a CCS charger. That's the only way you can get access to that money. Also, it has to be 150 kilowatts. It has to be at least 4 chargers. It has to have a certain amount of uptime. There's several requirements, but the important thing is it has to be CCS. Federal law does not change quickly. There's an election coming up. Even if Biden gets reelected and this thing gets hammered out and they change it, it's going to be years before any kind of North American charging standard is put in on a federal level as a port that can receive federal funds. The laws just don't change that quickly. So with Ford throwing in the towel and buddying up with Tesla and going North American Charging Standard for going CCS, the question is, what's going to be the landscape for CCS in the future? Now, there was something called the Ultium Charge 360 network by GM, and I had basically figured that it had ended because GM announced that they were cutting $2 billion and laying off people. I didn't see them getting money for installing a nationwide DC fast charger network. And so I basically thought that that promise was not going to be fulfilled. GM was not going to be able to do the Ultium Charge 360 network. It was a tri-partnership between Pilot Flying J, GM, and EVgo. Pilot Flying J being the truck stop brand. Would have been pretty cool. If you've ever been to a Pilot Flying J, they always have like some kind of fast food restaurant inside the store. They've got clean restrooms, plenty of selections of snacks. They're always open 24/7, well-lit, safe locations. So it really made sense as a national brand to partner with in order to deploy a DC fast charging network. But it seemed like it was belly up. Until I came across this, and let me drop my video so we get a full screen going here. I was poking around my state's documents, and I came across this document. Volkswagen was sued by the federal government and lost in federal court underneath the Dieselgate situation from many years ago. And as a result, they need to provide funding to the United States in order to deploy EV charging infrastructure. I'm not quite sure how that worked out, but it was. And we had several DC fast chargers put in throughout the state of North Carolina underneath the funds supplied by Volkswagen. Now there's a phase 2 occurring. I'm like, oh, cool. Some kind of hard-hearted person took the effort to put in the DC fast chargers in phase 1 into PlugShare. When I came across this document, I noticed that it wasn't on PlugShare, so I decided to return the favor and run through the list and add all these locations to PlugShare. And as I was going down the list, my spidey sense started to tingle when I got here. Right there. There's 4 pilot travel centers. And there's 2 more right there for a total of 6. Okay, so that was interesting. Now, what is also interesting is that There's 5 chargers going into each location, and this column says yes. Yes, 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 yes. Those are the 6 Pilot Flying J. And what that column means, NEVI compliant. Okay, so we now have 5 DC fast chargers that are NEVI compliant going into Pilot and Flying J locations. And when I saw that, I'm like, well, that basically settles it. This is the Ultium Charge 360 network getting installed. And let's just take a look to see what's going on here with the money. If you look, the total amount of these projects are $630,000 or $631,000, basically $250,000 per location, of which they're being awarded from the VW funds $192,000 or $228,000. And these are the residual amounts left over needing to be paid from some other source. Now, the federal government, for NEVI compliant locations, will cover this. So General Motors is basically in the process of implementing a nationwide DC fast charging network in order to rival the Tesla supercharger network for net zero funds. All they have to do is do it. No money whatsoever, no money out of pocket. So that $2 billion cutting that I was concerned was going to block them from being able to do it, all the money is here. They just needed to do it. So I started to get excited, and I was going to my local Pilot Flying J location, which is listed here. And let me just show you. That is the Salisbury Peeler Road location. And like a widow looking out to the sea for their long-lost sailor husband, each week I would come back sad with no sign of construction occurring. I've been doing it for about 2 months, once a week or so. And nothing going on at this Peeler Road location. However, just today on PlugShare, we had a hit, baby. Look at this right here. This is in Brazelton, Georgia. So this is what it looked like from Google Earth Street View before. And this is what it looks like now on PlugShare, May 26th. Those right there are 2 Delta DC fast chargers. Very identifiable. Those are EVgo Delta DC fast chargers. Wait, let me make sure. Yep, and these are the dispensers. That is without a doubt Ultium Charge 360, 360 kilowatt dispensers right here. 2 CCS handles, 2 chargers right over here. Fresh new construction. Once again, there's the before picture, the McDonald's sign. Here's the after picture. The McDonald's sign is changed up a little bit. And the chargers. Boom. So we actually have chargers popping up out of asphalt now. This is not a wish. This is actually happening. And let me just make sure that was, yep. Okay, so the next location, there was actually 2 locations that I simultaneously saw on the same day, which was just really exciting for me. This is the next one. It's in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Again, we're going to see, this is the before picture right here. Down on the embankment, you'll see the sign in the next one, no chargers. And this is what it looks like now. There's the sign. And now we have 2 Delta dispensers. Without a doubt, that is GM Ultium Charge 360 hardware going in the ground. As I said, in North Carolina, we've got 6 of these locations going in along interstate corridors. I've been having my eyes on them, but really, I don't need to hope that this will occur. This is actually in the process of occurring now in neighboring states, and it's just a matter of time before this all shakes out. So, the fact that Ford decided to belly up to the bar with Tesla is really of no consequence. The federal law requires NEVI compliant locations to be CCS. So anyone who wants money from the federal government's Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA, infrastructure bill in order to put in a DC fast charger is not putting in North American Charging Standard or Tesla locations. They're putting in CCS. So the battle lines have been drawn. We're going to be with a dual environment for the next, I'd say, probably not a decade, but at least until 2030, I would say the United States is going to have two different standards, the North American Charging Standard and the CCS standard, which is fine. You can get an adapter. You know, we had CHAdeMO adapters, and even in my garage, I've got a Tesla wall box that I got a Electron J1772 adapter for that I charge my two non-Teslas with now, because we sold the Tesla. I still have the chargers perfectly good. It outputs at 11 kilowatts, so no reason to replace it. I just got a little Electron adapter. So living with adapters, the North American Charging Standard cars, basically the Teslas and the Fords, are going to have a CCS adapter, and likely vice versa. Anywhere where there's going to be a North American Charging Standard location that is open to CCS cars, like the locations in the Tesla supercharger network that have magic docks, there'll just be an adapter. So although it is unfortunate that things have panned out this way, it seems like the battle lines have now been solidified. Trenches have been dug. CCS is here to stay. It's not going away. North American Charging Standard and the supercharger is the gold standard. It is, but GM is going to make a go of putting in a nationwide DC fast charging network at Pilot and Flying J locations, and are in the process of doing so for net zero funds. You know, free 99 is a good price. And as a Cadillac Lyriq owner, we were provided 2 years of free charging at EVgo, which includes these locations. So as these start to come online, my wife and I will be able to take a nationwide road trip in our Cadillac Lyriq to Pilot and Flying J locations and charge at these EVgo hardware. And, you know, go and use the facilities, get yourself a candy bar, buy yourself some fast food, and head on your way. I don't know. It sounds pretty good to me. Anyway, hope you enjoyed watching.